Hey everyone, it's Liz Miller, VP and Principal Analyst at Constellation Research. And I want to talk to you today about something that often gets relegated to being kind of one type of tool, but really is critical to not just revenue and growth, but quite frankly, experience, especially in this age of data and AI. And what am I talking about? Configure, price, quote. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys just take a minute to not be so surprised anymore. That's right. I want to talk to you about CPQ as being part of the experience lifecycle, because it is. When we talk about CPQ, oftentimes we tend to kind of end up in two camps, right? It's the camp that sees CPQ as really a very functional revenue operations seller's tool. How do we get sellers to be more efficient and moving from that point where they're getting a configuration conversation going with their customers, or maybe even that's being automated based on past experiences and past transactions? And how do we then get clarity and consistency, visibility and pricing? And how do we then quickly move that to a quote? Because the more quickly, the more efficiently, with more velocity that we can move that process, the more accurately we can move that process, sellers are really able to accelerate their timelines and what they are looking to achieve and accomplish, which of course is going to be more durable profitability. All of that is great. But when we just focus on CPQ as if it's just a seller's tool, we're actually ignoring the fact that in the age of AI, high fidelity data is running short. And likely organizations are going to figure out in very short order that they're going to start running out of it. But CPQ, when done right, and when executed as an experience and not just a seller's tool, can be a source of some of the highest fidelity data and signal out there in the enterprise. It gets us exactly to where a customer wants to be and helps us meet them where we need to be. It's not often we end up with those when peanut butter meets chocolate type of moments. So when we do have them, I'm usually a big fan and I usually want to celebrate it. So that's where CPQ comes in, certainly for me, that yes, it is a valuable and vibrant seller's tool, but it's also something that fits into the customer's experience. And it's that moment, that chocolate and peanut butter moment, that gets me so excited about CPQ. So let's talk about CPQ. Fundamentally, what are the table stakes that we expect to have in there? Well, of course, we're looking for that integration with CRM. We're looking for that integration with ERP, and also some way to actually execute these documents and actually get them signed, right? It's one thing if we create the quote. Modern CPQ demands that we actually start to execute and then get that on over to revenue. We're looking for workflow management. We're looking for CPQ to be part of that larger ecosystem and part of that larger process. So we not only need automated ways to kick off these workflows, but we need them to extend well beyond the CPQ modules. We need deal optimization and those profitability modeling. Sales is awesome at selling. They're not necessarily always awesome at seeing where that profitability is. If we're always trying to close, well, that gets us to that discount and pricing management and compliance ruling that we always need as part of the CPQ. Yes, we need the analytics and reporting. I can't imagine a CPQ in today's day and age not having robust AI-driven analytics that are showing us not only where the gaps are, where the holes are, where the opportunities are, but are starting to reveal the why, because they can bring in all of these hidden answers. They can bring in all of these hidden opportunities and reveal them to us in ways that kick off those workflows, that start to provide that guided selling experience and that seller support and recommendation that we also are going to look to AI to fill. I've said AI a lot. It's because within CPQ, it's an absolute must. But let me be very specific here. It's been an absolute must for years. CPQ was never just about moving things from one place and space to another. It was about being smart about it. It was about using that data and being able to connect all of those dots. So when I talk about AI here, I'm not just talking about the modern flash, the wow moment of what could Gen AI do. That's the next list. Because yes, when we start to move from something that was just a seller's tool and we start to move this into an experience tool. Experience-driven CPQ has some different demands and needs. You have to have those brand controls and that document management. We're not just creating white pieces of paper here, right? We are creating something that is part of the customer's journey. We want that guided configuration and experience so that the customer can go through that thought process. But we also have to have a way that the customer gets to explore and not be penalized for that exploration experience through a quote or through pricing, etc. We want this to be part of the customer's journey, part of that exploration. We want that visualization. Yes, it's an air conditioning unit. Doesn't mean that someone isn't sitting there going, but I thought mine was a blue thingy, but the bigger capacity was a white thingy. It happens, okay? Visualizing that and being able to make that real. Being able to allow a customer to reprioritize, to make that shift, to see what you've been talking about all these years, sellers. Need to have mobile access. I think that's part of the table stakes. But AI-powered recommendations have to be for both the seller and the customer, because CPQ becomes a two-way street. CPQ becomes something that has to be able to provide the customer what they need and a pathway for them to achieve their spend and product goals while also meeting the needs of the business. It's one of those reasons why that discounting and pricing was so important, right? Yeah, I really like talking about CPQ because it's that hidden gem. It's that hidden resource of fidelity, high fidelity data that sometimes is so easy to overlook. Because if we think of it just as being something that moves along the paper process, moves along the quote, gets our sellers someplace faster, we're missing the fact that it could actually be something that our customers could be playing with a lot longer. And that our sellers not only get to go faster, but their volume might increase. Those recommendations actually might be seen instead of just heard. And that becomes really powerful. So who do I think is actually paving the way and really getting CPQ into that new era of data-rich experiential CPQ? Glad you asked. Listen, these are the 8 solutions I think you really need to know. But today, I want to zero in on one solution in particular, and that is PROS Smart CPQ. Here's the really interesting thing about PROS. PROS has been around for a really long time. If you're in the airline industry, you know PROS already, right? You know PROS for, well over 30 years now for pricing. Why is this important? Because while a lot of CPQs have really had their start point be around process efficiency, the process from getting from that configuration point to the pricing, to the quote, to ensure that there's visibility and financial viability across that path. PROS has started from a position of data, AI, and pricing. Quite frankly, not just pricing, but profitable pricing that also keeps in mind the tolerance and the experience and the sentiment of the customers to which that pricing is being shown. Pricing in airlines is no joke. It's not easy. No, we think it is. At least someone who flies a lot, you might think it is, but it is exceedingly complex. And PROS has been able to take their AI models, their deep understanding of data and behavior and profit and your business, and really turn that truly into a science. One that doesn't need explanation to a seller. It just serves up as a recommendation. Pricing that is consistent and visible across any space and place you choose to share it. And that same deep knowledge and understanding that they have had in the airline industry, they have taken that expertise and applied it to B2B. Why does this matter? Because they not only know what to do with the data, they know how to generate it. It's that high fidelity signal we've been talking about. So if you're thinking about configuration as not just a capacity to bring all of that information together, but also as a place where a customer's journey continues outside of the consideration, outside of that repeat customer behavior, but the C in CPQ means more to your organization, PROS knows how to gather that data. They also know how to turn that data into analytics that's perhaps even revealing things that unlocks different revenue streams. Maybe it starts to improve that experience in that buyer's journey, but it also intentionally looks for trends. So you can start to see maybe some aspects of the buying behavior of your profitability or even your pricing journey that throughout the totality of all of the configurations of all of the quotes that you can start to see where your customer, maybe even your market or your seller maybe had a trend line that you hadn't noticed, but directly impacts your profitability. The reality is that we always look for quick. We always look for speed, and PROS certainly delivers that. You get fast quotes, you get nice, quick configurations. They've got a great UI that sellers really enjoy using. But for me, what always keeps PROS on this list for me, and the thing that bubbles up every time I look to consider these solutions, is how willing as an organization they are to meld those lines of what they know about data that delivers one heck of a pricing solution, and bringing that insight and information into the space of CPQ for B2B organizations. So if you are interested in learning more about Constellation's shortlists, hey, here's the whole CPQ shortlist. You can go to constellationr.com and check out our shortlist library. Configure Price Quote is there. It is updated once a year, usually in the first part of the year. It's like a late Christmas present, I guess, for you guys. But what we try to do is narrow down a really, really broad range of competitors who are offering CPQ modules and CPQ solutions, and get you to the ones that we really consider go really to the top of the list. And for this year, like many in the past, PROS certainly bubbles up to the top for me. So thanks for hanging with me. Be sure to check out all of our shortlists at constellationr.com, and be sure to check out PROS at pros.com.